Welcome to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Corinne Basabe. Today we have a remarkable artist. We have Mike Berg. He's somebody who I really admire, and hopefully we can get through all the sensational images that we have today of his work. Welcome to Corinne's Picks.
Oh, thank you, Corinne. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, this is a show about works of art, but also a show about exploring an artist's career.
Mm-hmm.
I have been looking at your work for the past week and just being beside myself and just absolute joy. I mean, it resonates with the core beliefs that I have in art. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with your work.
Well, my work actually covers quite a range in terms of materials, but in terms of concept, I think it's all pretty much similar. And what I'm interested in doing, what I'm interested in doing is just doing. I don't want to. I've been painting. I started as a painter. I evolved into making sculpture. I've done weaving, or had weaving done for me, embroidery, and all of these things. But the core elements are always basically the same thing. They're about a pattern and design and geometry, and in simple forms, basically. So.
And I really like the way you say that you emphasize just doing. I mean, so much of art to me, there's a lot of pressure to be part of an art movement or to please this audience or that audience.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, once you can take that pressure off your shoulder, you're really free.
Yes. Well, it's interesting that, I mean, we talked about that a little bit before, and I mentioned that I feel like I'm something of an underground artist, partly because, as I said before to you, I live in Istanbul, I live in New York, I have a summer house, so I spend time there. So I even wake up often wondering, well, where am I? Truly I do. And people are always asking me, I had several people ask me today, well, where are you? Because I actually have a piece that's going to a show in Doha, a sculpture. And the guy who had invited me to do this asked me, where the hell where are you? And anyway, I said, I'm in New York now. But anyway, what was the beginning of the question?
But your work really can vary quite differently. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen works in pencil. I've seen works that are like sculptural pieces that
Mm-hmm.
are might have been in your property and your home.
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes.
I've seen pieces that look like sumi ink on large canvases.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen standalone sculptures that really mirror some of the images that look like sumi ink, right?
Yeah.
The ink splashes.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some that are actually textile,
Right.
that are actually woven. I know that
Yeah.
you do embroidery. So they're quite different, but they all have the same kind of feeling of absolute abandon
Oh,
and freedom.
I'm glad you said that. That makes me very happy. Yeah, and they're process oriented. They're basically, I'll start with a concept, and I'll follow step after step. Sometimes it's a very formal thing. Sometimes it's just much more intuitive. But what I do is I make it, I look at it, and then I make a variation of it, And so I mean, if I think a work doesn't work well, I never destroy my work. I'll bury it, I'll put it aside. Uh, but, maybe 6 months later or years later, I'll pull it out. I'll have an idea. I even dream about old pieces, and go, into my stack of stuff, pull it out, and rework it. So my work is not based in theory or anything like that. It's based in process and variation.
And it is variation because while I talk about abandon and freedom, they also can be quite mathematical and structured because I love the works on paper where I think it's pencil that you use where like you might have a certain direction in lines, but you're also overlapping in different dimension, different places. So they can be quite mathematical as well. But like you say, it's the process, not necessarily the fact that it's structured.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's both in a way. I mean, it's the process, but also the structure, the geometry, and what I do is I give myself as much latitude as I've granted it to myself. I mean, I love artists like Louise Bourgeois, who covers so much ground, from her, just the myriad types of sculpture that she makes, the pattern works, the figurative works, the sexual works, the works that relate to women. My range isn't that great. I'm not as great an artist as she is. She's just brilliant. But I give myself license to do anything I want, but at the same time, I also limit myself. There are certain things that I can't allow myself to do anymore. If I start to make something that looks figurative, or I just can't do it. I used to be a figurative artist. I just can't do it because it just seems wrong to me. But you mentioned geometry. A lot of my work is very geometric, very linear, very shape-oriented. At the same time, I do serpentine kinds of drawings, and so if I do something that's very geometric, math-based, you might say, then I might follow that up with a more fluid line kind of thing, and in the last like 4 or 5 months, my wife gave me this stack of handmade paper from India, and they're small pieces, but they're so liberating because it's like I feel like I could do anything, If it doesn't work, there's not much commitment,
Yeah, I think I saw those on your website. I feel like we're kind of having this private conversation, but the audience might need to see some of your images. So I think I'm going to start with the 2 videos, and then we can break apart the other pieces of work that you do.
Okay, that sounds good.
So.
Bunları da buradaki bu nakış tekrar ediyor burada. O da çok iyi olmuş bence. Yani yine aşağıdaki işler, her şey birbirine bağlanıyor biraz.
I want them to look like what they are. So I want them to look like it was drawn. But also part of it is wanting it to look like the medium and what it does. It's the smudge of the pencil, and then the way that it's translated into the metal in the process.
The one that I like most is this one. Again, it's kind of a Turkish calligraphy origin, like the karalama. That's really fantastic, I think. When you see the original drawing of this work, which Mike showed me,
I had a brush that was loaded with ink, and basically it's a matter of hitting it and dragging it, you know, and when it hits, it explodes and makes these drips and drops, and the art part of it, the creative part, is done in a flash. It's like boom, 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 that's done. You know? Then it's the translation into a different kind of material, and then the presentation and so on.
You know, those are really wonderful videos. I love the fact that it demonstrates the concept that you create this work on canvas. Is it canvas or paper, those splotches?
No, they started as direct ink paintings on paper.
Okay.
And then what I do, I don't do it. I have an AutoCAD guy who actually takes the drawing, it's scanned, and he follows the contours exactly. And of course, you know, the ink drawing may be, you know, like a foot by foot square or something, not big. But you know, they're digitized, and then they're enlarged, and then their legs are cut. And so they get installed on the wall that way. But yeah, they're not full scale. They start small.
Right, right. But I love the concept of taking an idea and displaying it in one medium, but also presenting it in another medium.
Yeah, I
It's
like
a
that.
large sculptural piece.
I like the transference from one material to another. Yeah, I had been doing ink drawings for a long time, and you know, I thought they looked great, but then I thought, well, God, it would be cool to see them in metal, you know, and I had to do a little research. I mean, this goes way back, maybe 25, 30 years. Found a company in Seattle that technique was different. It was acid etched, and so we would photograph it, and then the photograph would be put on a metal plate, and then it would be dropped into an acid bath. But the scale that I could make was limited, that technique. That's how I ended up moving on into laser cut in heavier metal. So, but the whole thing is that I really love the idea of making something that looks very much like an ink drawing, but it's steel, or it's
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
brass or bronze, you know, because they did that
Exactly.
too. So
So we have like 14 of your images, and I want to make sure that I'm not talking too much, but you're actually, you know, helping the audience understand each image. So let's see the first image. We're going to go to a PSA soon after, but I think we have time for one image.
okay, okay. Oh, okay. So this also very small ink drawing. It's actually was one of a series of drawings that I did for a private commission. This was one that wasn't selected, and I loved it, and I thought, I'm going to make it for myself. I do that a lot. I do commissions, but mostly my work I only do for myself. I don't know whether it'll sell. I know I'll have to pay for it, but you know, that's the risk you take. But that's fine. It's not a problem. Anyway, I'm going to be doing another show in May in Istanbul, and I believe I'm going to show this piece there, as well as a very large three-dimensional sculpture.
And we'll be back with Corinne's picks.
Okay.
Welcome back to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Corinne Basabe. We've been talking to Mike Berg and exploring his wonderful, wonderful images. Um, we have about 12 more images. Can we, let's keep going and keep exploring these images, and maybe you can just tell us a little bit about each one. Can we have the next one?
Oh, okay. This an ink drawing. It's tablet size, and yeah, sticking with the whole thing about just simplicity. I'm just composing the space, but in a very free way. A lot of the time I will start a work, and I generally, like if I'm going to do something like this, I'll start maybe in one corner, or I might start in the middle. I should backtrack. Normally, I start somewhere other than a corner, and so I start working my way around, and then trying to figure out, a composition. In other words, I don't start at the upper left and then go across and then blah, blah, blah. It's just, randomly moving around. And, I don't know.
Is that paintbrush or pen or?
That one, I think I was using some kind of, a stick or something. I do that. I actually, where I live out in the out west in the summertime, I'll go pick a tumbleweed, and they're actually a little bit hollow, so they hold a little bit of ink, and then just swirl it around. So I think that's how that was done. Now this one is also an ink drawing, and it was obviously it was flat, or it was flat, but then I made it as a wool piece, but then later I thought, this could really work. It could be very interesting to see it in a three-dimensional form. It's one of the first ones that I did. So you have to just imagine this sort of ink drawing that's loopy, 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 and then all of a sudden I rolled it around, and the results were great. I thought I was thrilled to death, and this was one of the very first ones that I did. But it, as you move around it, sadly this is just a still, but as you move around it, it changes obviously, and I think it works well. They always talk about making sculpture that it has to work from all sides, and I think it works.
There's scientific theories about that the dimensions that we define in the string theory. That there's actually more dimensions than we know of.
Yeah, well, I'm sure of it. I think that there's so much that's there, of course, that we don't know. But I have a sense that there's so much more beyond my capability of understanding. But I'm sort of dazzled and awed by it. And anyway.
Okay, the next one. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Well, this is another one that was a similar idea. With it also started out flat. It was actually about, I would say, 2.5 feet wide, ink drawing, and same idea. I thought, this could look cool rolled, and then I did. I had made a Xerox of it. I actually printed it on acetate or something transparent, and rolled it, and it didn't quite work. The forms were too thin, and so what I did was I took the drawing and I folded it again and then rolled it, so it had doubled it. And one of the nice things that happened was that by folding it, it created legs so that it had a base. So that's where the image had been folded in half and then rolled. And then there's a lot of messing around I have to do to make things come together and blah, 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 but that's it.
Was it a conscious decision to put it in a kind of an enclosed space like that?
No, this was shown in my gallery in New York. I mean, not New York, but in Istanbul. And interesting story, or maybe it's not. I made this while the drawing. I made it out west, where I spend the summertime. I worked it out. I sent a scan of it to my AutoCAD guy, and he translated it into AutoCAD form. And then once that was done, he sent it to my fabricator, who has it cut, laser cut, and then rolled and welded. And then it was exhibited there, and my dealer installed it there. I never saw it from the beginning to the end, other than making the painting. I never saw it at all.
Tell us about the size of this one.
That one, well, I think it's about 9 feet tall. I think. I mean, I'm a little over 6 feet. I think it's 9 feet tall. It's I think it weighs about 500 pounds. My gallery in Istanbul, this was also in my show in Istanbul.
What's the name of this one?
God, I wish I could remember. I don't remember. But anyway, it was a big piece, and it was actually carried up 5 floors because it was too big to fit into the elevator at the building. It's a beautiful 18th century building in the heart of Istanbul.
So we're going to quickly go through the next few images because I think we only have 6 minutes left.
Oh no, okay. So these are some smaller works where I'm imagining simple geometric forms, thinking about how they travel from plane to plane, so that they make the form, but you also can see through them, and I like that very much. And this was at another gallery in Istanbul that I had been invited to, and then they displayed it on this floor, and I thought it was beautiful. I really liked the square, the white marble with the black squares. I just thought it was fantastic. This is a piece that I did that is in my fabricator's shop. These are guys that I've been working with for 18, 19 years, something like that. Anyway, I thought it looked cool. When it's done, my usta, they call him, my expert metal man, whenever a piece is done, he'll tack it to that wall and photograph it. And I thought, well, this is cool. It looks, it's not in a gallery space. It's unusual. It extends beyond the wall. It has a certain kind of real life, you know what I mean? And rather than just.
Okay.
So these are ink drawings. They're actually designed to be vertical rather than horizontal, but it doesn't make that much difference. Anyway, I was talking about how I use geometry, but I also like to use very simple patterns, and then I like to work in layers. And so, for example, the drawing on the lower left here, if you look at it, the geometric, odd geometric shapes is actually the same drawing as the upper right corner. It's actually flipped, but it's the same drawing, the geometry. And one of the things I like to do is to contrast one element in it with something completely different. And so then that's why I have those colored, ball shapes or circular shapes. It's for me, it's fun to do that. Actually, I showed this one to Deb, our friend Deb, and she said it made her feel joy. And I thought that was pretty great. This is a kilim. This is a flat woven rug. I designed these, and then the design is sent to Uşak on the Aegean coast. It's a place that's very famous for making kilims and challah, or rugs, for the last 5 or 6 centuries at least. You've heard of Holbein rugs. I'm sure you've had. Holbein, the painter. He famously made paintings with rugs in them and draped over tables, and those pieces are called Holbein paintings or rugs because he had them made. And,
So I think this is the last image.
oh, okay.
Tell me a little bit about what are those specks of light?
It's just. You know what pizza boxes come? They have the little thing in the middle so that the lid doesn't fall into it. I cut the leg off of one of those things and used it as.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, the pattern in the back, the line, is a pattern that I've used a lot, and I have a whole series of pieces that are based on that design. And then this, where we have the white dots in the middle here, and the other ones, the stuff that is filled in between the lines is, different. But
So we have about 30 seconds left.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for being on Corinne's Picks. We have to do this again because I don't feel like I went through all your work. There's so much work that you have. And I definitely want to talk more about where I want to talk more about where your art is going the next time we film. But thank you so much for being on Corinne's Picks.
It was a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'd love to continue the conversation. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Terrific.